Right, so I'm going to carry on with the clouds and weather project that we started last week. So if anybody was away last week, this was the demo that I did, more or less. I may have done a little bit more to it since. So it's basically, I was using this image, so I thought I'd use the same image again, but have a go with some oils this week. So I'm just going to carry on with this one I started this morning. But with this one, what I did was I used the masking fluid. So if you weren't here last week, basically it's like painting the masking fluid in, which is this bit, then big wash over the top, so that's that bit, and then once it's all dried, you can sort of rub this away, and you're left with the white areas. So a nice way of preserving the white of the paper. The only downside I would say about this is it leaves really sharp, harsh edges, which you don't really want with clouds. So with this one here, I started to just soften the edges a little bit. So basically it's just getting a clean brush. See if I've got a clean brush here. And I find a slightly stiff brush, maybe slightly short haired, works well. Let's try this. So it's clean brush, clean water, and then you can just soften the edges a little bit and then just blot them very slightly with some kitchen roll, clean kitchen roll. So when you blot it, you need to keep moving it around so you don't print back on what you've just taken off, sort of thing. But that is a way of softening edges. It's a bit laborious, particularly with that many clouds. There's a lot of softening edges, but that is one way you could tackle that with watercolours. Okay. I'll brought this painting to show you. This one I painted yesterday in a painting competition in Malvern. And I won a prize for the best urban scene. So that was about 5.5 hours painting in Malvern yesterday. That was like a plein air painting competition. Right, so, sorry? 5.5 hours. It's endurance painting. We had from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to do our painting. So that took me from about 8:30 till about 2 o'clock.
Is it going to be on telly?
No. Well, it was just like a local kind of painting competition. But I said, yeah, it's very pleased to win the prize. I'm not sure what I've won yet, but they said it to me. But that was nice. Right, so with the oils approach, and this would work just as well in acrylics. If you're working with acrylics, I find sketching out with a bit of pastel pencil. So I'm just sketching some sort of cloud shapes. You probably can't see that, but it's only just a very pale grey. But I can see that, and that's as grey as I would need to go just to be able to see what I'm working. But so you can see, I'll make it a little bit darker. So basically it's sort of something like that. The nice thing about the pastel pencil is that will just kind of dissolve. That will dissolve with water or rub away. Or it's easy to wash out. I don't like where I got that. So I always like pastel pencils for drawing for painting. Actually, when I'm painting my own paintings, such as this one here, what I tend to do is just get some very, very thin paint and just kind of sketch I'll do that a little bit darker. And this isn't really the right colour for this subject, but I tend to paint in this kind of pale, almost like a raw sienna colour. And I do all my drawing on that, and then I can go a bit darker than that. And that sort of colour doesn't intrude too much with the colours in the paintings usually. Actually for clouds, something a bit bluer or greyer would be better. So I'll just try like that, just go over that. Yeah, so something a bit more like that. I find that dries really quickly. If I'm using traditional oils like this one, the solvents evaporate off quite quick. Because there's hardly any paint on there, that will be fine. And it should be the same with the water mixables. The water should just dry up quite quick. So you've got a choice of approaches. And then what I tend to, this morning's demo, I did the greys and the blues and then the white. And I think I'll do a little bit of that, but I might try a little bit over here where I put the white in first. So I'll do the white first, so just to show a few different approaches. with the highlights, I mean, these are really bright. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of red and a tiny bit of yellow in with the white, just the tiniest touch. Otherwise, you're left with a very, very cold white. And I sometimes think just warming it up just very slightly is a bit more naturalistic. And actually, when you look at clouds, quite often the white fluffiness is nothing like white. It's more like a beige or grey or something like that, or pale grey. And if you compare like the colour of the clouds or the tone of the clouds with something really bright in the foreground, you'll find that they're not always that bright. So that can be the lightest tones. The other thing about this demo is I thought I'd work on canvas. So this is just a bit of canvas I take to the board. And sometimes something like clouds where you want to perhaps blend the colours, having a slightly textured surface helps. The very smooth surfaces like this one, you tend to see every brush mark, and sometimes I want to soften the brush marks out. So some brush marks I might want to see, but others I'm going to want to soften out. So that would be the approach where I'm putting highlights on first. Break that in a little bit. And to be honest, when I'm painting my own paintings, I try and bring a painting in that I'm working on at the moment that I haven't painted like some clouds in. I tend to alternate. I'll perhaps do the greys and blues first sometimes, but sometimes I do the highlights. I don't necessarily stick to any particular plan. I think in this case I'll get some greys in. So using some blue and some brown to make a basic mix. I've lost me a bit of plastic. Oh, here we go. If you've got a bit of plastic handy, you can always just see how close you are to the colour and tone. So that's obviously too dark. Let's add some whites to that. And that's a bit closer, perhaps a little bit too light there. A little bit closer still. So that's going to work for that. So just get some shadow into that section. And maybe a little bit darker under here. So just add a little bit more blue, maybe a tiny bit of red in with that. So I'm suggesting not to use black for the time being, perhaps just stick with the colours. And again, that's sort of softened, I can sort of literally sort of blend it in on the canvas. So it's lightening up what I put on, but it's quite, get a nice soft look to that. Let's get a little bit of blue on there too, around. So some cerulean and some ultramarine blue, and plenty of white, just lighten that a bit. And again, just working it into the canvas quite a bit, so that I soften out the brush mark. So basically just leaving a gap around that one. Sometimes what happens is you get the stronger blues at the top, and as you come down towards the horizon, you'll get a little bit warmer colours. So maybe a little bit of red and maybe a tiny bit of yellow too in that. Just make that slightly pinkier down there. Put some blue around that one too. And I can kind of work around that. The way I was taught was really to paint dark to light, but I found in recent years and seen other artists work, some people do put the lighter colours down first and then put other colours around them. So there are occasions when that works a bit better. And then I can just very slightly soften blue into the white, perhaps using fingers to blend that in a little bit. Great advantage of the oils is getting these sort of subtle blended soft effects. Much easier with oils than acrylics. Acrylics will dry very quickly, as you know, and then this I could even go away for 5-10 minutes, come back and just keep pushing the paint around, and it would look just as fresh. And finally, I'll just put some highlights around this one. And this other one actually wants a bit of shadow, doesn't it? Put some shadow in here. Again, I'm not thinning the paint, I'm just really scrubbing it into the surface of the canvas. Something like that, just lighten that a little bit. Just make that a little bit lighter there. Using reasonable size brushes, that's the small one to highlight. And this one. Working that into the gap that I've left. And then finally I can just soften that out a little bit into the blue. The way I paint often is I'll then just wipe that off so that I'm getting rid of the paint I've picked off. And then I can just come back in and soften this side. There. So that's how I would go about blending the oils. If anybody wants to try oils, Maggie very kindly donated some to the class. You didn't get on with, so we've got a lovely set of clean new tubes.
Little ones, but they smell.
Yeah, you can see like the smell of them. Yeah. My ones are a bit old and sticky and manky. I mean, these are just beautiful, beautiful clean tubes. So if anybody wants to have a go, you know, we've got paints you can try.
They are nice paints.
They're lovely to use, aren't they? Lovely
I've
paints.
got the schminker ones, I'm going to try those.
Get on back to the schminker ones, so yeah, if you want to have a go, we've got some lovely oils here. And then wash up with water, just wash it, put your brushes in. I usually just do, you know, you can kind of rinse them like this, and then I just get a bit of washing up liquid at the end, and just stick them in a bit of washing up liquid like that, and then rinse them, and that gets them lovely and clean. I do that with all my brushes. Any questions? Yeah.
Would it not be, because I look at it from a watercolour point of view, so I'm learning oils from that. Would it not be better to do all the blue and then put the clouds on top as it were? You can't lift them out like watercolour.
Well, you can't lift it well. You're getting a bit of a mess trying to lift them out. Yeah, I mean, I suppose if I wanted to change a bit, I mean, if I wanted to take areas away, one thing you can do is you can, well, I quite often just get a brush like that and just rub the colour out, or you can dampen it or put a bit of solvent or water on the brush. So you can wash back areas, but it isn't easier. You're more likely to get it all over your hands and get in there. I'd say it's definitely a different sort of approach. Yeah. I mean, what you could do, if you did want to just sort of paint it all blue, you could do that and let that dry for days, and then put clouds over the top. So it depends how you're working. If you're planning to sort of take a few weeks over a painting, then yeah, you can underpaint a layer and then another layer on top. I tend to go out, you know, I try to almost like painting one or two layers. So this to me is how I would work more often, particularly when I go out painting. I've got a couple of paintings that one I'm working on at the moment, one I've got ready for the art trail. So I've painted the whole thing in a couple of sessions. It's a big painting like this. So the clouds are just kind of trying to observe them and do a passing and get some shapes in. But it's pretty much painted a bit like this, you know, putting the highlights in, putting the shadows in.
So something like that building and tree, you do that the same way?
What I did here, how did I do it? I think I drew out the shape of the building. And I think I might have painted the building, or got some of that in first. And I've got some of these sky shapes in, brought some of the, I think what I did do is I did that yellowy colour that I started with, this sort of colour, I almost like did a sort of sketch of where everything was going to be in that. So if that was the trees there, I know to bring the sky up to that. So there isn't too much that is wet painting. Like some of this light colour, I've then had to put dark marks over the top. And that's quite hard to do that, because you do pick up the light colour. Or equally, if I do dark and then put the light over the top, like the window bars, it's very easy to pick up the dark each time. So that's where oils do become quite tricky. And again, the tree, I left a few gaps for sky holes, and then I painted green, and then I went back in and painted some of the sky in, and then a bit more green over the top. So I sort of to and fro a bit with that. Yeah. But I think with oils, it's just being aware of how much you want to get done in each session and how much wet paint you want down. So you wouldn't want to sort of cover it all in blue and then try and paint the clouds over the top, because it's just going to pick up so much blue you can get in there. That's my experience. Is that okay? Right. Yep.